Men and women today are lost in roles society handed them, roles that never truly align with purpose. You've become obsessed with proving something to people who don't even care. Men are trying to be hard all the time. Women are trying to be soft all the time. And in that struggle, you've lost balance, depth, and identity. Listen, this is not about who's better. This is about who's broken. And right now, both are. Men have been told not to cry, not to feel, not to express. So they walk around with unhealed wounds, calling it masculinity. But rage is not strength. Silence is not leadership. And suppressing your emotions isn't powerful, it's painful. And women, you've been told that to be valuable, you must be wanted by everyone. You've been told to be beautiful before you're told to be wise, to be desirable before you're told to be whole. And now you're exhausted, chasing standards that are not even real. You're tired of performing, but you're scared to stop because you think without that performance, no one will love you. Both genders are hurting, but instead of healing, they're blaming each other. Women call men emotionally unavailable. Men call women manipulative or shallow. And the truth is, both are reacting to a system that taught them to survive instead of love. You want connection? Start with accountability. You want love? Start with healing. You want to lead? Then listen. Men, stop thinking you need to dominate to be respected. Start learning how to protect without controlling. Start learning how to feel without shame. A real man doesn't run from responsibility. He embraces it with honor. But don't confuse being needed with being used. A man's worth isn't in how much he gives away, it's in how deeply he knows himself. And women, stop giving your power away in the name of love. You were not created to chase validation. You were created to lead with values, not desperation. Set your standards higher, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. If a man can't handle your strength, that's not your weakness. That's his limitation. The truth is, men and women were meant to complement each other, not compete, to uplift each other, not use each other. But you cannot come together in a healthy union until you've both healed separately. It's not about being alpha, it's about being authentic. It's not about being attractive, it's about being intentional. It's not about being perfect, it's about being whole. The relationships you choose reflect the standards you carry. So if you keep attracting chaos, start blaming the world and start checking your wounds. Let go of your pride. Heal your trauma. Learn how to communicate without attacking. Learn how to listen without reacting. Because emotional intelligence is not a weakness, it's your superpower. Both genders have been subjected to societal expectations and pressures that go beyond simple roles. They are emotionally wounded, navigating through life with burdens that have been placed on them by culture, history, and even their own expectations. Men and women, often viewed as opposites, in a constant battle of misunderstandings and miscommunications, are not opponents. They are both casualties of a world that has taught them to suppress, conform, and strive to meet unattainable standards. Society tells men they must be strong, stoic, and dominant, while women are taught they must be nurturing, beautiful, and always accommodating. These narrow definitions of gender have left both men and women emotionally scarred, disconnected, and lost. At the core of it all, the struggle isn't between the sexes, it's within each individual. Both men and women are searching for meaning, for love, for validation, but most of all, they are searching for freedom from the chains that bind them to these predefined roles. The result is emotional disconnection. Men are taught to suppress their feelings, while women are conditioned to cater to the needs of others. Men are told that to show emotion is weakness, and women are told that their worth is tied to their beauty and ability to please others. These outdated narratives don't just hurt individuals, they harm the very foundation of relationships, of families, and of society itself. Men have long been taught that expressing emotions is a sign of weakness. They are told from a young age to man up, to get over it, and to deal with it. This creates an internal struggle where emotions are seen as an inconvenience rather than a natural part of being human. The inability to express emotions leads to pent-up frustration, anger, and more often than not, an unhealthy reliance on external sources to deal with inner pain. This leads to men seeking validation in unhealthy ways, from aggression to achievement, from control to avoidance. They push their emotions down, pretending they don't matter, because society has taught them that they don't. The result is devastating. Many men walk through life emotionally numb, disconnected from their true selves. They hide behind their achievements, their power, their external successes, but deep inside, there's an emptiness that can never be filled by what they've been told to pursue. They're taught to be self-reliant to the point of isolation, to believe that asking for help is a sign of failure and that vulnerability is a weakness. As a result, men struggle with mental health issues at alarming rates, but they rarely seek help because doing so would mean admitting to the very emotions they've been told to suppress. They carry their emotional wounds silently and often, tragically, alone. On the other side, women have been taught that their value lies in their beauty, their ability to nurture, and their willingness to put others first. From a young age, girls are socialized to be sweet, accommodating, and polite, while being discouraged from showing assertiveness, ambition, or strength in ways that are deemed unfeminine. Women are often raised to believe that their primary purpose is to care for others, to make those around them happy, and to be adored for their external appearance. Society tells them that their worth is directly tied to their ability to attract and please others. This often leads women to put their needs, dreams, and desires on the back burner to fulfill the expectations placed on them by others. As a result, many women grow up feeling disconnected from their true selves. They are told that their worth is determined by how others perceive them, leading to an unhealthy obsession with appearance, approval, and perfection. They become conditioned to sacrifice their own needs and desires for the sake of others, often losing sight of who they truly are in the process. Women are encouraged to give endlessly without receiving the same in return. They are praised for their nurturing qualities, but rarely for their ambition, intelligence, or strength. This imbalance creates emotional wounds that fester beneath the surface, often leading to feelings of inadequacy, resentment, and exhaustion. The emotional wounds experienced by both genders are deeply intertwined. Men are taught that showing emotion is a form of weakness, while women are taught that their worth is conditional upon their ability to please others. The pressure on both sides is overwhelming. For men, it's the pressure to be strong, to be the provider, the protector, and the one who can do it all without ever showing vulnerability. For women, it's the pressure to be beautiful, to be caring, to be everything for everyone, while neglecting their own needs, desires, and dreams. Both genders are wounded by the same societal structures that place unrealistic expectations on what it means to be a man or a woman. These expectations don't allow room for individuality, for emotional expression, or for the freedom to simply be human. Instead, both men and women are told they must conform to a specific set of standards that are not only impossible to meet, but also fundamentally dehumanizing. The harm caused by these gender norms doesn't just affect men and women individually, it also affects their relationships with one another. The emotional wounds that men and women carry prevent them from connecting in meaningful, authentic ways. Men often struggle with vulnerability and emotional expression, making it difficult for them to connect deeply with women. Women, on the other hand, often feel unheard, unappreciated, and undervalued, which leads to frustration and resentment. Both sides become frustrated with each other, not realizing that the true issue lies not with each other, but with the societal expectations that have shaped their emotional experiences. This cycle of emotional disconnection continues to perpetuate itself because both men and women are too busy playing roles they didn't choose and that don't serve them. They continue to build walls rather than bridges because they don't know how to be truly open and honest with one another. The wounds remain unhealed because no one is willing to acknowledge them, and the cycle continues. Men keep suppressing their feelings and women keep sacrificing their own needs, and neither side ever truly heals because they are too busy trying to meet impossible expectations. If we are to break free from this emotional cycle, it requires a shift in perspective. It requires both men and women to acknowledge that they are not each other's enemies. The real enemy is the emotional damage caused by a society that has imposed unhealthy standards on both genders. Men and women must recognize that they are both suffering in different ways, and that healing can only happen when they stop blaming each other and start healing themselves. Men need to understand that showing emotion is not a weakness but a strength, and women need to understand that their worth is not determined by their ability to please others. Both genders must learn to embrace vulnerability, to express their true feelings, and to value themselves for who they truly are, not for the roles society has assigned them. It's time for men and women to stop viewing each other as opponents and start seeing each other as partners in healing. Both genders have been hurt, but that hurt doesn't need to define their relationships or their futures. True healing begins when both sides come together with empathy, compassion, and understanding. It starts with acknowledging the emotional wounds that have been inflicted by society and working together to heal those wounds. Both men and women have been taught to be something they're not, to conform to expectations that don't serve them, and to suppress parts of themselves that are vital to their well-being. It's time to break free from those chains. It's time to heal. It's time to understand that we are not each other's enemies, but rather we are both in need of love, understanding, and a new path forward. The emotional imbalance that exists between men and women today can largely be attributed to the false gender roles imposed upon them by society. These roles, deeply ingrained in centuries old, shape the way both men and women view themselves, their emotional expressions, and their relationships. These roles are not just limiting, they're damaging, not only to individuals, but to the collective well-being of society as a whole. The false narrative of what it means to be a man or a woman has created an environment where emotional health is compromised, where self-expression is stifled, and where deep, meaningful connections are hard to come by. For men, the role of the strong, silent provider has been drilled into them from an early age. From childhood, boys are taught to suppress their emotions, to man up, to take it like a man. They are told that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness, and that to be a true man, they must remain stoic in the face of adversity. This belief, while it may seem like a noble ideal on the surface, has led to a disconnection from their own feeling. The pressure to conform to this rigid role prevents men from exploring the full range of human emotions and expressing their true selves. The emotional consequences of this are profound. Men are left to bottle up their emotions, often not knowing how to cope with the deep well of frustration, sadness, and confusion they carry inside. The inability to express their feelings leads to anxiety, depression, and feelings of isolation. This isolation is often internalized as a personal failing rather than a symptom of the societal pressures placed upon them. The result is a cycle of emotional repression that continues to harm men in their personal lives, in their relationships, and in their mental health. Men are conditioned to believe that they must bear the weight of the world on their shoulders without ever letting anyone see the cracks in their armor. This mindset prevents them from forming authentic connections and prevents them from receiving the support and compassion they need to thrive emotionally. On the flip side, women have been given an entirely different set of expectations to live up to. While men are taught to suppress their emotions, women are taught to express their emotions, just not all of them, and certainly not in the wrong way. From an early age, girls are socialized to be nurturing, gentle, and accommodating. They are encouraged to put the needs of others before their own, to be self-sacrificial in the name of love and care. While this may sound like a virtue, the expectation that women should always be nurturing and empathetic has led to an emotional imbalance of its own. Women are often expected to shoulder the emotional labor in relationships and families and in workplaces, all while keeping their own feelings in check. Women are also encouraged to be physically appealing, to seek validation through their appearance, and to be perfect in a way that society deems acceptable. The emotional imbalance experienced by both men and women today can largely be attributed to the false gender roles that society has constructed over centuries. These roles are deeply ingrained in our collective psyche, shaping not only the way we view ourselves, but also the way we relate to others. From an early age, we are taught to conform to a set of expectations based on our gender. Men are expected to be strong, stoic, and unemotional, while women are expected to be nurturing, gentle, and empathetic. These rigid expectations have created a significant emotional imbalance, leaving both men and women emotionally stunted, unable to fully express themselves or connect with others in a meaningful way. For men, the societal expectation to be a man is often tied to emotional suppression. Boys are raised with the idea that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness. They are taught to be tough, to suck it up, and to not cry. The pressure to conform to these ideals leads to a deep internal struggle for many men who may feel that their emotions are invalid or not worthy of expression. As a result, they often bottle up their feelings, resulting in emotional repression that has long-term consequences for their mental health and relationships. Men are taught to endure hardship without showing weakness, to suppress their pain for the sake of others, and to carry burdens without asking for help. This can lead to a variety of emotional issues, including depression, anxiety, and anger, as well as an inability to form deep, authentic connections with others. The emotional suppression that men experience is not just an individual issue, it is a systemic one. From childhood, boys are given the message that they are not allowed to feel anything other than anger and aggression. Society tells them that emotions like sadness, fear, and even joy are signs of weakness and something to be avoided. The result is a generation of men who are emotionally illiterate, unable to understand their own feelings or articulate them to others. This emotional detachment affects not only their mental health, but also their ability to form meaningful relationships. Without the ability to communicate their emotions, many men struggle in their personal lives, feeling isolated and misunderstood. They often rely on unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as substance abuse, violence, or workaholism, to manage their emotional pain. On the other hand, women have been subjected to an entirely different set of expectations that, while seemingly more emotionally permissive, are equally limiting. Women are often taught that their value lies in their ability to care for others and to be emotionally available at all times. From a young age, girls are encouraged to be nurturing, gentle, and self-sacrificing. They are expected to put the needs of others before their own and to always be ready to provide emotional support to those around them. While this may seem like a virtue, the pressure for women to constantly give of themselves emotionally often leads to emotional burnout. Women are often conditioned to prioritize the feelings of others, particularly those of men and children, above their own emotional needs. This can lead to a sense of resentment, frustration, and exhaustion as women are left feeling emotionally depleted. The false gender role of women as caregivers and emotional supporters also has a profound impact on their mental health. Women are often taught to suppress their own desires, ambitions, and emotions in order to take care of others. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy, as women are expected to be everything to everyone, and that is both unrealistic and unfair. Women are taught to be everything, the perfect partner, the perfect mother, the perfect friend. These expectations are not only emotionally draining, but also unrealistic. No one can be perfect. And the pressure to meet these impossible standards can result in anxiety, depression, and a loss of self-identity. The emotional imbalance created by these false gender roles extends beyond the individual level. It affects relationships, families, and society as a whole. In relationships, men's emotional suppression often leads to communication breakdowns and misunderstandings. Men may struggle to open up to their partners, leaving women to carry the emotional weight of the relationship. Women, on the other hand, may feel overwhelmed by the pressure to always be emotionally available and nurturing, which can lead to feelings of resentment and emotional burnout. The imbalance is evident in the way that men and women relate to one another. Men may withdraw emotionally, while women may overcompensate by taking on the emotional burden of the relationship. Both parties are left feeling emotionally unfulfilled, frustrated, and disconnected. Furthermore, the false gender rules that dictate how men and women should behave also affect their ability to connect on a deeper level. Men are taught to suppress their emotions, while women are taught to be emotionally attuned to the needs of others. This dynamic creates an emotional chasm between the sexes, as both men and women struggle to communicate their true feelings. Men may feel uncomfortable expressing their emotions, fearing judgment or ridicule, while women may feel unappreciated and emotionally neglected. The result is a lack of emotional intimacy, which is a critical component of any successful relationship. Without emotional connection, relationships become shallow and transactional rather than meaningful and fulfilling. The false gender role for women centers on the idea that their worth is tied to their ability to meet the needs of others. Women are encouraged to be selfless, but in a way that leaves them emotionally depleted, always giving but rarely receiving. They are taught that their primary function is to nurture, care for others, and to be the emotional support system for everyone around them. In many cases, women are told that to be truly valuable, they must be both beautiful and submissive. Two traits that often conflict with each other in a society that demands perfection. The emotional imbalance that results from these false gender roles is evident in the way women often sacrifice their own well-being for the sake of others. Women are frequently encouraged to bottle up their own needs, desires, and emotions to be the caretakers of others. This role often leaves women feeling emotionally drained, unappreciated, and resentful. They may feel that their emotional needs are secondary to the needs of those around them, and they may find it difficult to express anger, frustration, or dissatisfaction without feeling guilty. In relationships, women often feel the pressure to be the emotional anchor, but this role can be exhausting and unfulfilling when their own emotional needs are neglected. The emotional imbalance caused by these false gender roles affects not only individuals but also the dynamics between men and women in their relationships. Men who are conditioned to suppress their emotions often struggle to communicate openly with their partners. They may withdraw emotionally, not knowing how to deal with their own feelings, let alone address the emotional needs of their partner. Women, on the other hand, who are taught to be emotionally available for others, may find themselves overwhelmed by the emotional demands placed upon them. They may feel as though they are giving endlessly without receiving the same level of emotional support in return. This dynamic often leads to frustration, miscommunication, and unmet emotional needs. Men may feel disconnected from their partners because they are unable to express their emotions or engage in deep emotional intimacy. Women, in turn, may feel resentful and unappreciated because they are constantly expected to be the emotional caretakers in the relationship without the support or understanding they need. Both parties are left feeling emotionally unfulfilled, trapped in roles that they were never meant to play. The emotional imbalance created by these false gender roles also extends to the way men and women view themselves. Men who are taught to equate strength with stoicism may come to believe that their worth is tied to their ability to endure hardship without ever showing vulnerability. This belief can prevent them from seeking help when they need it, whether that means seeking therapy for their emotional struggles, or simply asking for support from loved ones. Women who are often taught that their worth is tied to their ability to please others and to meet the emotional needs of those around them may lose sight of their own values as individuals. They may believe that their worth is defined by their ability to make others happy rather than by their own intrinsic qualities and abilities. In both cases, the false gender roles create a sense of emotional disconnection, not just between men and women, but within each person. Men become emotionally disconnected from their own feelings, unable to express themselves or form authentic connections with others. Women, on the other hand, become disconnected from their own needs and desires, constantly giving to others without receiving the emotional support they deserve. This imbalance leads to a cycle of emotional deprivation where both genders struggle to meet their own needs, let alone the needs of their partners or families. The consequences of this emotional imbalance are far-reaching. In relationships, the inability to communicate emotionally leads to misunderstandings, frustration, and resentment. In the workplace, the pressure to conform to gender roles can result in burnout, exhaustion, and feelings of inadequacy. In society as a whole, the false gender roles perpetuate a culture of emotional repression, where men and women are discouraged from embracing the full range of human emotion. This lack of emotional expression prevents individuals from living authentically, from building deep, meaningful connections, and from fully understanding themselves and others. To break free from this cycle, both men and women need to reject the false gender roles that have been imposed upon them. Men must learn to embrace vulnerability, to express their emotions openly and without shame. Women must learn to prioritize their own emotional needs, to set boundaries, and to seek validation from within rather than from external sources. Both genders must learn to communicate openly and honestly, to share their feelings without fear of judgment or rejection.